Both of us had something in common, and it was sons that attended the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. I met Tim through the Parents Association, through a mutual friend, and that was in around 2016, probably, yes. 2015, 2016. And we became instant friends, which is not usual for me. Normally I don't warm up to people very easily, but it was very easy to warm up to town. It felt like we had a lot in common. We're both from Texas. Tim's from Corpus Christi. I'm from a little town called Brackettville, Texas, so we had that history in common. We had sons that were at the military academy, and we loved smoking cigars and drinking whiskey. And we'd sit out either on his back porch or my back porch and enjoy the camaraderie of sitting around drinking whiskey and smoking, which really gave us a time to sit down together for hours and hours on end, put the phones down, and just talk about whatever we wanted to talk about. So it became kind of like our version of a modern day campfire, where we had time to spend time with each other. We also both believe very strongly in supporting our nation's military personnel. So of all services, not just the Army. I mean, I came from the Army, but I have friends in just about every branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. And so in the summer of 2018, we were coming up on the anniversary of the Battle of Mogadishu, Somalia. And I had served with a bunch of great guys and gals in that particular theater. And we were coming up on that reunion in October of that year. So we sat down together and said it'd be nice to make 300 cigars, send them up there for these people to enjoy, and did it as just basically complimentary from us to share our experiences of sitting around enjoying good whiskey and cigars with people that were very special to us. And so Tim made the contact, which is what Tim does great. He's great at developing business, but more importantly, developing relationships between people. So we linked up with a local friend of ours. We made 300 cigars. Tim and I sat down together and designed the band on a cocktail napkin after about half a bottle of whiskey.
I think it was more like 3 bottles of whiskey.
Yeah, maybe 3.5. And we literally drew it up on a napkin, an H and a Y together, and then we say, we should probably put a knife on there. So we put the dagger through there, which is the Fairbairn Sykes dagger, which is representative of commandos around the world, and dates back to World War II, which was kind of the origin of the modern day Special Forces units. So all done in-house, without any outside influence, just 2 guys sitting around drinking and smoking. We had the cigars made. We had a local printing company print up our logo on a very simple banded it ourselves, and then sent it up to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to that group of people. And then shortly after that, we had people saying, hey, I missed the event, but I want to get a cigar, or I had a cigar, I would like to get a box of cigars. We had cigar shops that would call us up and say, hey, I saw this cigar, a buddy of mine showed it to me, where can I buy them? And we just kind of accidentally got into the cigar making business. And Tim, take it over from there.
Well, it's kind of funny about that, because when I went to my wife and I said, hey, Steph, we're going to buy some cigars, and she said, well, okay, buy as much as you want. I said, well, it's kind of been a lot of money. She said, well, I'll let you know, if you don't sell them, you're going to smoke them. And I looked at Norm, and we looked at, okay, we're good with that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. And so it was interesting how we started this, because it was supposed to be a hobby. It was supposed to be just us having a good time. And so then we, in turn, did this box called the Gothic Servant 25th Anniversary, and we started selling it. I said, oh, crap, we got to do another box. And then it became another box. And then, but the whole story was that we have a mantra called Made to Remember. Remember those who are fallen and those who are currently serving. And so we always try to remember that when we look at this. We go, keep the story alive. When we talk about Mogadishu or the Black Hawk Down or the Gothic Servant, which is the title for the operation, or we talk about Overlord, which is D-Day, or we talk about other events that's going on, we want people to remember that there were stories that we still need to talk about. And so that's why we started this, because it wasn't we were going to put a lot of money in our pocket. It was more like we want the best cigar the best looking deal, but we also want to keep that story alive. So that's where we kind of started at. But interesting enough is that today, and I'm going to give credit to PCA. We haven't been here. We've been doing this for almost 5 years. And today, today's our first time ever to be at PCA, and which is exciting because we feel like we're the rookies here. And do we have the right booth? And do we do this? We don't know any of that stuff. They're novice. We're very rookie driven here, and it's just been exciting. I got to tell you, the ability to meet Norm and he little story about it is that when we first met, my wife said to me, I started asking him questions about where he's from in Texas and so forth. Well, his sister went to Baylor. My wife and I went to Baylor. He went to the same camp that I went to when I was a kid, Christian camp that was in Texas. And so it was weird how we never knew each other, but we knew each other. And so even today, our wives are good friends, and it's just weird because I've never had that reaction where you're like, he's more family than my own family members because I see him and talk to him more than my own family. But we don't talk about cigars all the time. We talk about other stuff we're doing, shooting or whatever we do, right? But I got to tell you, we have a good time with this. We meet a lot of wonderful people. I mean, meeting you guys has been great. But we don't know where we're going with this. I mean, at the end of the day, we take each day at a time. I mean, we just don't know what the future's like. Yes, exactly. And people ask us, where are you going to be in a year? Well, listen, I'm at PCA now. I don't know where I'm going to be next week. What are you going to be smoking next? Well, I don't know. What's your favorite cigar? I always say my last one. Right. What of all your cigars you like? I like them all. I mean, what do you say? It's like, but
pick your favorite.
Yeah, and the thing is that there are so many good cigars out there. There is. And so we're just, what we say, we're different because we have this story and we want to keep that going. But in the day is that we think everybody out here in PCA, they have good stuff. And so we're just glad to be here. Now, moving forward, I guess you understand we're also in the whiskey business. Do we talk about that for a moment?
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah, well, I was in California, and I still remember this. I get a call from him. He said, man, Tim, I think we should get in the whiskey. I said, what the heck are we getting in whiskey for? I said, I know how to drink it. I know how to go buy it. That's it. He said, well, I know you know someone. Well, of course, unfortunately, I know somebody. He's a master som. His name is George Milios out of Orlando, Florida. And he connected us with a company called MGP. And here at this point, I was living in Hong Kong at the time. And so we're trying to do the Hong Kong thing. He's living in Florida. And then everything else is going on. Our MGP plant's up in Indiana. And in the meantime, trying to deal with the cigars. Now, currently, all our cigars are made in Nicaragua, except for one that's coming out October 3rd, which we actually have right here today, which is from Dominican Republic, from a guy his name is Eladios Diaz, and he's a great master blender. And, the reaction was that we always went through kind of a secondary person. We never got involved with the first stage of a cigar, right? What an experience to go through that process. How to go there to the tables that are making your cigars, see the boxes made, see everything being made. It was like, oh my gosh, this cigar here means a lot to us as well. But I would tell you, we just don't know where it's going with. But we only make good cigars that we smoke.
Right. I mean, the quality of your cigars they are top notch. You can tell. Bob, when you smoke this cigar, you're dealing with a tobacco that's finely aged, finely crafted, and it's well made.
Construction is beautiful. I love the drawer on it. I don't want to have to sit there like a fellow sucking just to get a mouthful of smoke. It just flows right to you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that was really important to us because I think both of us had commemorative cigars from other places before, and we buy it to support the brand because it's a commemorative cigar. A lot of times, you like the story, and you like the packaging, but the cigar can be a disappointment. And having children that serve on active duty, Tim has them, and I do. One of the worst things I can imagine is having my sons sit down at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, or Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, or Hunter Army Airfield with a bunch of friends and light up our cigar, and they go, Willie, cool idea, but your cigar sucks, and that would be really embarrassing for all of us. So our rule early on is with anything, whether it's a lighter or a cutter or a cigar or whiskey, if we don't routinely enjoy it on our back porch, we don't put it on the market.
But we actually started with our mantra by saying that we don't get paid. We actually put every bit of our money back into the company, and we also, part of that, also give to Veteran Affairs. We do it either through whiskey or cigars or cash. And our deal is always to support the veterans of all costs. We would rather take no money to give out more. And so we've actually done a lot of that this last, even when we didn't have the money, we did it out of our own pockets.
Right, and that's a huge tribute to you, and thank you for both of your services and now your children, doing that for us, because without it, we don't get a chance to enjoy this.
Yeah, it's a privilege to do it and privilege to be a part of it. But like Tim said earlier, everything that we make, we put a lot of thought into it because our motto is made to remember, right? So every product that we have is made to remember something, right? It's made to provoke thought and discussion about an event or a piece of equipment that was significant in the history of the United States military. So whether it's a mission, whether it's a group of people, whether it's a piece of equipment, we try to tie everything in some subtle way, or sometimes not so subtle, to a product. And we take a lot of pride in doing it, and we've really enjoyed it.
Well, I got to tell you some stories about Norm. He's very humble of what he's done and he's accomplished in his 20 years in the Army and 16 years in Special Forces. And then, of course, he did the whole thing with, after 9/11, you were the Air Marshals.
I worked with the Air Marshals, helped them get started. I was a national training coordinator for their special mission unit. But
and then after that, now he's a doctor in pharmacy for the VA.
Yep.
Super guy. You would think some jarhead some guy coming out of Brackenville, Texas, goes to Special Forces, all this kind of stuff. We wouldn't think it's very smart,
hey, man.
right? But then I'm going to tell you this: that cookie he's a smart guy.
I don't know about that, but Special Forces has some pretty smart people in it. They're pretty sharp dudes.
It kind of changed my mind. I was like, man, these guys are really smart guys. And so I got to tell you, we give a lot of credit to those guys and giving up their time, and they could be doing something else versus doing what they do in Special Forces and the Army and whatever.
Yeah, I think Tim agrees with me. I just hope that they enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it. Because if not, then really everything we've done is for no reason, because we really do it out of respect for those guys, and it's been fun.
So, there's been two actually big shots. Jeff has been a super fan. We love going to Coronas. He keeps on expanding his stores down. I think he's down in Sarasota now as well. Yeah, he's the guy. If you want a cigar, whiskey store, or whatever, he's the place to go to. We have a good time when we go.
Yeah, and one of the first guys that really supported the product back when we're still brand new, but back when we were even, babies, he's the one that took a leap of faith with us and said, hey, I don't really know you guys, but I like the story. I'm going to help you out. And so we owe a lot to Corona. That's another cool thing about the cigar thing that I didn't really know. You have cigars, but you don't really understand the culture of the cigar industry until you kind of get into it and you realize how close-knit they are, the camaraderie that goes in with meeting people in the industry, and it's just a very cool subculture of people to hang out with.
How long will this last? Last being, how fun is it? When does the fun stop happening? When does it become where we just don't want to show up?
Hopefully never.
Well, that's the whole point. So far,
Never stop being fun.
organically, this thing, with the cigars and whiskey and so forth, is that we have found out that we enjoy we both get out of it. When we have people say, man, I love your cigar, I love your whiskey, man, that makes us feel good.
Yeah, it does. It's a sense of accomplishment that you get from doing something at a high level. It's and Tim's done some pretty high level business stuff. Of course, I was spent a lot of time in the military working with some very, very accomplished guys. So everything you do, you want to pursue excellence. If you're going to do it, you do it as good as you can do it, right? So I love her, man. She brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of energy to the team. Yeah.
And that's one thing we kind of have been lacking for the last 4 years, that we didn't have somebody to really kind of push the product. That's right. And the thing is that you have to have boots on the ground. And, let's be frank, is that finding a representative or a broker has been very tough because no one wants to take a new brand on. No one wants to do this, whatever. We're nobodies to these guys, right? And so bringing Allison on, she has clearly doubled our revenue that we did the last 2 years. I mean, we've actually opened a lot of doors. I guess you're aware that we're on the terminal list with Chris Pratt, with Jack Carr as the writer. That was a good thing for us. And we actually did that. Somebody called me right in the middle of COVID. I got stuck in Orlando. This is a funny story. So my wife got over to Hong Kong, and I'm sitting here in Orlando, and I couldn't get a flight back. And so we get a call from a producer through either Mark Taylor or whoever. And what they did was they said, hey, we want 4 bottles. And I said, okay. I didn't know they were really looking for 4 empty bottles. But I sent them 4 full bottles, and I sent them, I said, I have no idea who these people are, who is Jack. I haven't read the books or any of that sort, which I think he's on number 8 or 9 now, whatever. But to find out, we got, 2 weeks before we got released, what was it, last summer? I didn't even know, I forgot all about it. So I said, hey, totally forgot. I was like, well, shit, what do you know? So what happened, somebody called and said, hey, you got to watch this show. And I went, yeah, whatever. Within the first 10 minutes, it's on the show. And I'm like going, holy crap. I mean, that's our bottle. And Chris Pratt saying, have a Hooten Young on me. And his email was Hooten Young. And it was like going, holy moly, this is crazy. And then just more recently, about 3 weeks ago, our product was on Joe Rogan because Jack Carr had taken one of his bottles from Hooten Young, and he actually gave one of our boxes of operators, and he's like, heck, this is good stuff. Now, which does a lot of movement for us, of course, but at the end of the day is that people just need to know about our product. And by you guys doing what you're doing is awesome for us. We really appreciate it. And, we're just looking to see what the next chapter or next level we're going to go to.
Well, I like both.
Oh, delicious.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is delicious.
Available at ABCs or?
So in Florida, yes, ABC liquor stores, Total Wine, and some independents. We're actually in 257 independent stores in Florida. When we started, I got to tell you this story. So when we first started the whiskey business, was right in the middle of COVID. And it was like we started in January, February. We met with the guys from RNDC. They came down, and they said, oh, we'll get this done. Of course, COVID started just diving, right? People were not able to go anywhere or whatever. And so we were kind of getting a little frustrated saying, listen, guys, this is ridiculous that you guys are doing the product, but you're not getting it out. Well, because they can get reps out.
Yeah, they kept pushing it back. It was like we were going to launch in March, and then it was April, then it was May, then it was June. Then it was July. Then it was like, hey, we don't know when we're going to launch because they couldn't put their sales force out there and expose them. And we were sitting there with a bunch of whiskey, just sitting there that we couldn't move.
Well, we couldn't drink enough, so it was like we had to sell some of it. So
we tried.
Here's an interesting story. So we went to the guy. His name is Babish.
Bavesh. Right? Really good guy. He's a local retailer in Orlando.
Called Cigar. No.
It's called
Bethfly.
Bethfly.
Yeah, that's right.
Wines Online, I think, is what his website is.
Yeah. And so we go in there, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, I might buy."
Never heard of you guys.
Yeah, he just gave us stuff. He just gave us his whole rundown like anything else does. And so, Norm, what did you tell him?
I said, "Hey, look." He goes. I said, "Buy one case, right? And if you don't sell it by the end of the month, we'll come back and buy it back at retail price."
That's pretty much a guarantee.
Yeah, and so
how many? What, about a week later, or
next day. So we gave it to him on a Friday, and he called back the next day and he said, "Hey, I need to order 50 cases." He goes, "I saw that stuff. It was like gone." So actually, he said, "Let me buy 10 cases," and then he ordered 10 cases, and the next day, he called up and said, "I need 50 more." So within about a 72-hour period, he went through like 50. Off of one case that had basically a guarantee on it. He went through 50 cases of
and then I think he ended up
whiskey.
buying about 400 or 500 cases within 3 months. We sold out all our whiskey, 953 or 54 cases within 3 months. And I'm like going, oh my goodness, what's going on here? What do we do now? We got to go make more.
Yeah, I think we burned through our when we talked to our distributor, they said we project that this year you'll probably go through 100 cases or something like that because you're brand new. And I think we went through that in like a month.
Yep. So it's funny because we never like, okay, these are the experts, Republic National, and they said we could only sell 100. We sold 953 or 954 cases within 3 months. And so then it came out. So I went back to Hong Kong, finally got able to go back, came back, and they said, Tim, this is Republic. We need more cases. We got a demand. I went, oh, crap. So we got some more made. But, it's like anything else. You get things made in Orlando and Jacksonville and so forth. We had labels on our bottles that were upside down or not at all. It was just crazy. It was like it's like, who's making this bottle? So we ended up using a company called Myers, a guy named Paul Lux. Super good guy. It was a connection that we made through Republic National. And probably the best person we've ever met in the process, because have you ever been in a room where you felt intimidated because they knew a lot more than anybody else did? And this guy, Paul Lux,
Relatively young guy, but nothing from start to finish about the alcohol, spirits, wine and spirits industry that he doesn't fully understand, and really helped us a lot. Very young guy, but has mentored us a lot in a lot of ways through the process of getting whiskey on the shelves.
And it's funny, in the process in the last 3 years, not only he's our vendor, but he's our friend. And he literally will call us about different things that are going on, and it's like so forth. And it's like, Paul, when are you going to come join Hooten Young?
Right.
And, because he is the guy in the industry. But then we also set up with our so we get it from MGP from Indiana. We move it over to the Myers over in Cincinnati. Then we move from there to Western Carrier, but we never seen the bottle. So we had to end up having stuff sent to us as samples because we never could get our own bottles because they get sold out. Just recently, within 3 months, we did the Jack Carr bottle. And was it 2 or 3 weeks? We sold 6,000 bottles in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Bottles. And so we get a call and say, hey, we're running out. I said, we can't run out. I just did 6,000 bottles. They said, no, we need 6,000 more. So
I think we're about to do a cigar for Jack, too, right?
Yeah, we're about to do a cigar for Jack Carr as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
If it's a secret, but can tell us who the distillery is? Yes.
Yeah, Midwestern Grain Products is we source the whiskey through, and the little secret in the whiskey industry is that you go into a liquor store, there's a good chance that the majority of the liquor you're looking at on the shelf is sourced whiskey. So they go, there's 4 or 5 big distilleries in the country, and people, and it makes sense because why build a whiskey factory when you have one there that'll do it for you and make it the way you want, and consistently be able to make it and make enough to supply the distributor, because the distributor doesn't want to hear that, hey, I make my own whiskey in my distillery, and find out that maybe a year from now you run out of whiskey because you can't produce enough, or it's not the same, right? But we try to put pair our whiskey with our cigars so that it goes hand in hand with it, and that it's a good fit.
What's the price point on the bottle?
On the whiskey bottle, so it's about $70. So $69.99 for the 12-year whiskey, and we also have a 15-year and a 16-year product.
We also have an 8 coming out. We have a rye, 6-year rye coming out on October 3rd. It's the same look as this box here.
Yeah, that's proprietary. That's a secret, man.
Oh,
but we are going to come out with a Gothic Serpent rye whiskey, and it's delicious.
But then we also came out with 3 wine casks. We took Camus, gave us their barrels. We got some from Honig, and then there's Zinfandel. I don't remember the name. And so we did that, sold all those out. We did a special release on those. So we take our 6-year-old, put it in their barrels, let it sit for about 6 months, and we come up with those. It's kind of like a novelty guy, but they taste really, really good. So my wife actually, she doesn't drink whiskey at all until she says, this stuff is pretty damn good.
One of the cool things about being part of Hooten Young at this stage is that, when you're a small company, you can be creative. You're fast moving, so you can make decisions, and you can act on those decisions very, very quickly. Whereas if you're a big company, it may take you years to go through that process. But we can look at each other. We're really the guys that make the decision. we can go, hey, what do you think about doing a wine finish whiskey? Or what do you think about doing this cigar? And if we both agree on it, then we start. And within a relatively short period of time, we're rolling. And so we're nimble. Being nimble as a smaller company is really, really, it is fun. It's because you're not constrained creatively. You can work together, and if you can think of it, you can do it, and
Well,
can.
Well, but it's also the opportunities. So, for example, when I went down and met with Latios, is that when I did this box has been done in, was it 3 months? 3 months.
Which is fast.
Really fast. And we got a design, the whole bit, the cigars, everything in 3 months. And we're like, oh, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, that look.
We have a great creative team, and
I like lacquer boxes in general. They always have like a certain elegance to them,
yeah, one of our teammates, Courtney Tickle, really kind of drives. So Tim and I come up with a lot of ideas. Courtney's the one that sits down and goes, okay, now I'm going to make these really happen, right? Now we're going to make it really happen, right? And so she's one that does it. She's awesome.
Yeah, she does. You start getting people around you that just are just awesome people, and we found those people. So we're keep on growing. We're looking for more people. If anybody's looking for something, we're always looking for somebody to do something. Our marketing team keeps on growing. We started our own podcast as well called Hooten Young, and then we also have it's called Hooten Young Outfitters. We have a clothing line that's coming out as well from the guys from Pimp. Pardon me?
What kind of clothing? Like clothing line as far as?
Well, it's going to be like shirts and hats and that kind of stuff, and T-shirts, and it's going to be, it's kind of funny how
it's going to be action wear oriented.
Yeah, that's
kind
it.
of. So.
Yeah. But we're working with a company called Ironclad who did the Jack Carr stuff. They're handling a lot of our stuff for us as well. So our deal is not to be fat with people, but to be able to outsource stuff everywhere else. And so that's what we do. That's the reason why we only have 3 people on our staff.
Right. Well,
For now. But I'm pretty cheap. So I want the ROI on everything we do.
well, continued success, obviously. And I hope that this show will kind of be an eye-opener to you as to what's possible.
Well, we appreciate you guys inviting us. I mean, it's awesome opportunity for us to get exposure and meet some great guys.
We should continue doing this from now on. Now, you guys located where?
We're right. I'm in Daytona Beach. He's in
That's right. Well, because I see the thing, it says Illinois, but I'm like,
No, we started the show there.
oh, you did?
It was called the Great Lakes Smoke Show.
Okay.
And I left. My brother's still there, and Kyle, who's another member of the team. Well, he's there for now. He's looking for a house here, though. He's trying to work with his job to give him a transfer.
Yeah.
So he's there for now, but he's coming here soon. But we're no longer regional. So we just dropped the Great Lakes.
Yes.
And now it's just a great show. That's it.
It is a great show. I got to tell you. And because you guys did something with, you did something with Allison? Yeah, I'll tell you this. Allison has brought a different venue on us. And I want to make a comment we had talked a little bit about earlier, is that one thing about Allison is that she knows her stuff. And where things we don't know. I don't know about the blends. I don't know that kind of stuff. She just can pick it right out. She knows this industry very, very well. So we're so glad to be hooked up with her. And actually, Matt Booth, I don't know if you know who Matt Booth is, introduced us to her. And so we're like, oh, great, this is a great pick. We always struggle on, we're all in different places, and how do we discuss each other? And so that's been a little bit more difficult, and I'd like everybody to be in the same house together. So we're ultimately probably will do that where everybody's closer together somehow. We used to do that when Norm used to be down in Orlando. We would have meetings every week, and we'd get together and talk. Well, now everybody's everywhere. So
that was a blessing and a curse. But I remember Tim would call me up at 11 o'clock at night and goes, hey, or 2 o'clock in the morning, hey, I got this great idea. I want to come over and talk about it. I go, hey, okay, we'll meet you in the morning. And like 5 minutes later, my doorbell would ring, and he'd be on or it would just open, and he'd come walking in, and we'd sit there for the rest of the night talking about a new idea that he came up with.
Well, realizing that, who's going to walk into Norm's Hooten's house? Well, I do it.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't. He was pretty irreverent. He didn't give a damn. He
Just shoot me now.
came
I
and
mean,
went
whatever.
as he pleased.
So yeah, it's been really good, guys, and really appreciate your time. Um,
We appreciate you. Really. Two terrific things.
Oh my God, that
And
was
a great
fantastic.
area.
Delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Tim went down directly and worked with Eladio Diaz in the DR, and I think he paired this
did.
particular cigar, the Gothic Serpent 30, with the whiskey. So
I had some rye with me, and I didn't know that he drank whiskey or anything, right? Of course, I was thinking maybe he's rum, because rum's down there. And so when I pulled the bottle out, because it comes in a flask at this time, because I didn't have it bottled yet, and he says, I put it in there. He goes, well, a minute, pulls the cigar out, goes through his little stash. And he says, this is number, I think he gave me numbers, right? So it's number 6 or 8. And I said, okay, it's number 8. And we started smoking it. We drank a little bit of the whiskey together. I went, damn, you're right. So it was so wonderful that we have a guy, a master blender, who paired a cigar to our whiskey. So that's one thing that's be special about this release is on October 3rd. We actually have a couple more coming out. We have one with the Jack Carr coming out probably later this year. But actually, I think we're releasing the Neptune Spear. I don't know if that's released actually, I think next month in August.
yeah, and the cool thing about that Neptune Spear is that, of course, you guys know that Neptune Spear was the mission to either kill or capture Osama bin Laden. And the way, like I said, we try to do things to remember certain groups of people or certain events. And I had a buddy of mine that I knew over a lifetime when I served, who had been in the SEALs. And he said, hey, man, he goes, I love what you guys are doing. He goes, but you guys are giving a lot of love to the Army, but I'm not feeling any love for the Navy. And he goes, so I can sit around with my buddies and smoke these Army cigars for only so long. So you got to show me some love. So out of respect for that guy, I said, you know what, we'll come up with one just for you guys. And so they a couple of guys had kind of wanted something special that they could sit around and enjoy to remember their lifetime and their accomplishments in the military. So we were really proud to do it for them.
So I guess we're going to have to do something for the Air Force, huh?
Yes, of course. I'm trying to figure out what that would be, though. But,
Yeah, we'll have to do something for the Air Force and a press release.
our next release, yeah.
Our next release, yeah.
We could do something. Yeah, we're going to spread the love for sure. For sure. Because truthfully, all those guys and gals stood, they're same kind of people, but they just stood in different lines when they signed up on the paper. But they're still great American patriots. And whether they did it or not, they signed a paper and took an oath to lay their life on the altar of freedom for the rest of us. And so they all deserve our mutual respect.